So yes, getting back to this part three. Yeah, Mark Anthony's, and again, I'm a big fan. I think I mentioned it in my and just like that review. I've been a fan of Mark for years, decades, when he was still just singing salsa songs. And before that, he was a freestyle artist. So, okay, don't come for me because Lord knows I'm a big fan of Mark. But this was not a Mark selection. Like, this was not a song to pick Mark Anthony. I get it. We're very limited, even in pop culture music. Mark Anthony is, like, I guess, the only other representative that we have when it comes to Latino music, or Jennifer Lopez. But that was not the T. That's not what you should have searched. You should have, and again, I do not blame DJ D Nice. I don't. I feel like he was instructed to play that song, and it was hurtful because if anything, it's already. I have my, and I think I'll link my review in the description box or in the link on this page at the end of the review of this review. But I think I've made it a point that, and even with my last review for Turning Red, it didn't really feel, I am of Colombian descent, and it didn't really feel like necessarily a authentic Colombian story. It felt very universal so that everybody can relate. And it just like, I feel like they threw in so many things that, yeah, perhaps today in modern Colombia is celebrated. You know, even Hindi culture. There's an instance where I think there's like a celebration. I think here in New York is even celebrated where there's like a festival of colors, and that's why we see like one of the sisters that's very vain and can turn everything into flowers. That's her magic, her encanto. It felt very reminiscent of that particular celebration, which I'll probably write it somewhere in the description box below. But again, it just felt like it incorporated all cultures and it wasn't necessarily Colombian specific. But you have so many songs to draw from here. And even if you didn't want to take particular kitty songs, you have All of You by Maluma, which is also a contemporary reggaeton artist from Colombia. And you have, I think he's from Medellin. And you have Colombia, Mi Encanto by Carlos Vives. He's our biggest singers that has been in the industry for decades. And so you could have played a snippet of that. Colombia. I'm going to play it now. It says it right there. The tagline in the chorus is Carlos Vives. And again, if you are a proud Colombian, you're a proud Colombian American, you recognize our art. That's our artist. And that's why whoever made this decision to play that song, as these people won that particular award, you stole a moment from us. Because if it's supposed to be a Colombian centric story, how dare you take that away from us? We have so little. I'm sorry, we do. I'll speak for my Colombian community. We have so little representation. I can't tell you if a screenwriter, an actress, a best director, I can't tell you anything. An author. We have so little, and even if we do have, we have Nobel Prize winners. Yes, we do. But that was like decades ago, and some of them have passed. We don't have anybody contemporary, and it's not fair to have done a story based on our culture and not us receive those flowers, not us receive the accolade because the story is supposed to be Colombian specific. That is all I will say. I'm very livid with that, and that in itself was already kind of a controversy amongst us. Again, I don't know if a lot of other outlets will catch it because again, it's more of a Latin American thing or Latino thing. But I was annoyed and livid because that was our moment, and that was taken away. And it felt very reminiscent, sorry to say, it felt very reminiscent of the year that Moonlight won Best Picture and Warren Beatty messed it up. What messed up that that award reading? He had said it was La La Land, and in fact it had been Moonlight. And you stole that moment. I mean, I know that was a blunder and that was an elderly mistake, and I'm not coming for the elderly people, but that was a blunder because they didn't. I mean, again, I'm sure everybody's happy they have their awards, but you stole that moment. And I'm sorry, you don't work a lifetime in this industry to get just a little minuscule of happiness when it comes to receiving the biggest prestigious award of the United States, which is the Oscars, and you steal that moment from them. That's the moment of glory where you're like, that's your touchdown, like, yes! And then you're like, oh, who won? And the same thing happened here. Again, I have my own points of view, and not everybody's going to agree with me, but it really did feel like a good smack in Colombian people's or Colombian culture faces to not acknowledge the fact that that was a stolen moment. Sorry, it's not Puerto Rico specific. It is not a Dominican story. It is not a Costa Rican story. It is not a Bolivian story. It is a Colombian story. Correct? So anyway, but that, I'll leave it there and we'll table that conversation or debate for another time.
G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it.
Now let's go into this.
I'm out here. Uh-oh, Richard.
Hold on.
Oh, wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me. Nick, wow, dude.
Yeah.
It was a G.I. Jane jump.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
I'm going to, okay? Okay. That was the
Thud.
greatest night in the history of television. Okay.
A thud.
Okay.
That was horrible. And I just so happened to catch it because I was doing my reviews and I wanted to see who was going to win. And I was just going to watch as a spectator. I really wasn't going to even make any comments. But once that went down, I think, like myself, a number of people were watching like, wait, because we didn't even get all this footage. The live telecast literally was stood at a standstill. It really felt reminiscent of The Sopranos, the series finale, when it just faded. It didn't even straight fade into black. It just went black. And people were like, wait, what happened? Is my cable box out? And it had a very eerie, similar feeling when Chris had made his comment, his joke. Will went up there. The angle that we saw didn't necessarily like tell the whole story. It froze. It's like almost they froze live TV. A number of people were puzzled. All we saw then later is that they flashed Oscars. They came back. They had the camera on Will, and then Will's mouthing, and you could clearly see that he was yelling explicitives to Chris in the sense that keep my wife's name out your bleeping mouth. And it caught everybody off guard because it was like, wait a minute. Because at first when he had gone up there, it looked like he was like play fighting him. It didn't look like they were really, or he was really upset from that angle. And then they leaked footage from other countries. I think it was, I don't know, it was Japan or something, but they were serving as interpreter and their image wasn't edited and you could hear the curse words. And so it was like, oh, and there was different angles where you could see Will smack the living crap out of poor Chris Rock. And this is the beginning of the end of that night because of last night, because soon after that, whatever joy was left in that room was sucked out because of this tension. You could cut it. It was so thick. You could cut it with a knife. It was really bad. And not for nothing, I'm sorry to say, and I've been a fan of Will for decades. I was his demographic. Excuse me. I was his part of his demographic when Fresh Prince first came out. I have been a fan for years. So was I a fan of Jada when she was in a different world? These were when people didn't know. They were like not broke, but they weren't the status that they are today. And so I've been a fan for years. And we've never seen a blip, a behavioral blip when it came to Will up until this point. But after this whole fiasco, it really put a tarnish. And not only did you steal, I feel like, Will, I'm sorry, you self-sabotaged your own success in in a handful of minutes. That took you probably 30 years to build. In 5 minutes, you literally threw that down the toilet. And then everyone who had a win, which that's why I wanted to start my video with all the wins that deserved attention and the adulation that it so deserved for it being so groundbreaking last night, you tarnished, you marred that moment with this. Why did you do this? And I'm sorry, the joke that Chris threw out about the G.I. Jane thing, again, it was a weak joke. It was maybe in poor taste because she has alopecia, which I'm sure he probably didn't even know. I'm sorry, not the world revolves around the Smiths. But aside from that, it was kind of like a lame joke, because unless you are of my age bracket, you wouldn't even know what G.I. Jane movie stood for. That's an old movie. It's an old reference. If you don't remember that, then the joke actually even went over your head. It made no sense. But his reaction makes zero sense here, because it's funny, because he was kind of laughing until he saw Jada's face. And I don't know if it was because perhaps they're already going through tensions. And again, I don't claim to be a therapist. I don't claim to be able to diagnose relationships. They've been married for a number of years, and perhaps maybe they are going through something. Remember, they have put their lives out there for public consumption. I'm not saying that makes anything happen last night right, or for us to have criticized how we are. But it was such a jarring moment that nobody understands why you reacted that way, and why you would self-sabotage your own success. It's crazy. It doesn't even make sense. Now, everyone has chimed in, from experts to people who have been in the industry for years. This was tweeted this morning, and you can find it on Daily Mail website. Bernadine Varisto. I don't know if that's just a regular tweeter, but anyway, don't quote me. It says the Man Booker Prize winning writer. Okay, so it is. Again, forgive me with names, but this is a person of prestige. What a thing to wake up to. Only the 5th black man in nearly 100 years to win an Oscar for male lead, and the first in 16 years. Resorts to violence instead of utilizing the power of words to slay Chris Rock. Then he claims God and love made him do it. That's pretty bad that we haven't had a win for best actor from an African American in 16 years. So I'm led to believe that Denzel Washington was the person that won over 16 years ago for Training Day, which wasn't the most positive of roles, but he won. And you're winning for King Richard, which was the most positive movie. I was going to review it. Again, I was looking for props to best do my review. But it was a really good movie. If anything, it's motivational, and it's about a black family and how they were able to really pull themselves out of poverty just by pure perseverance. It was a family-oriented movie. You deserved that win. We were all rooting for you. I really do feel like Tyra Banks when she had that America's Top Model moment. We were all rooting for you. We were all rooting for you, bro. Why didn't you use your mouth? It really would have, or if you just would have cussed at him from your seat, I think it would have even been better. Why did you go up there and hit him? I mean, like, not for nothing, but like, did you take an edible before you went? I don't understand. I understand there's a lot of pressure that you have to live up to. And this is also, again, attributed to the Academy Awards for always being so limited. Limited when it comes to the categories of people. Limited to in regards to diversity. If there wasn't this pressure, then perhaps it wouldn't have been such a breaking point when it came to Will Smith. And we just saw on national television a breakdown. Yes, maybe